Alex is a pro surfer and inspirational speaker with a loyal Instagram following of 85,000. He is multifaceted in his career and has been featured on the cover of Daily Breeze, Peninsula News, Surfer Magazine, Trans World Surf, Surfing Magazine, Tracks Australia Surf, and Surf Europe. We are so thankful for South Bay Families Connected and that they're partnering with us to allow Alex to be here today.
Hello, Chadwick. How did I get to that? At 10 years old, we were down at Torrance Beach. My brother was doing junior lifeguards, and his instructor, Jimmy Miller, taught them how to surf their first day of junior lifeguards. Surfing was not a part of our family whatsoever. But I got very lucky in the realm of supportive parents and was copying everything my older sibling did, Chris. So I told my dad, oh, he's surfing now. I need to go surfing. And my dad's like, sure, let's do it. So on a terrible foam board down at lovely Torrance Beach, I think I caught all of one 1-second ride. And at 10 years old, that feeling was the best thing that I ever felt. And it became a mantra of how do I get more of this in my life? It was how do I get to the beach in the morning? How do I get to the beach after school? I need to go surfing. It quickly became a young amateur career. 2 years later, I got 2 major sponsors and my first paychecks from Volcom and Body Glove, who were funding me traveling up and down the California coast, and also a bit of international travel with some competition to represent America in amateurs under 18 years old. We did contests, me and my parents, who were driving me everywhere every single weekend. And it began to shift what was a normal middle school to high school student hanging out with his friends to being pushed into a realm of wanting to be a professional surfer. My goal was to finish school, high school, graduate, and jump on a world tour that could possibly crown me as a world champion. That's what I wanted in life. But school was a priority, and thanks to my parents, I had to do my schoolwork before I could surf. And so surfing to me was also a privilege. It was everything in one. It was beginning to become a career, but it was also where I went to have fun, have an outlet. It was everything for me. An unannounced event happened within our family personally. As I went through high school as a senior, my brother Chris, who continues to be my hero, came to us as a family and had a very scary look in his eyes, which came out to be that he had an issue with drugs that he had been using behind our back, unbeknownst to us, and was in fear of his life. He was in fear of the safety of even being able to choose to be himself and not constantly thinking of how to get out of this drug use. So we took it very seriously. Our lives stopped, in a sense, and it all focused on him. We took him through a program. We got him into a sober living house, and my brother was 10 months sober and did very well. He worked hard on it. At that time, he had a scholarship to a college for guitar. He was pursuing a professional guitar career, and was just overall an awesome human that was trying his best to fight his struggle. A monumental night in our life as a family. I was the captain of my surf team that year, getting ready to graduate, had gained more sponsors like Red Bull, who were paving a carpet for me to go travel the world and live my 10-year-old dream of being a professional surfer. It was all going to unfold the day after I graduated high school. And I knew it was coming, and I was looking forward to it more than anything. And that night when we celebrated as a surf team, and it was really almost a goodbye to me to all my friends because they were going off to college, and I was going off to travel the world for 10 months in hopes of being that world champion. As we left that night, we got a phone call that my brother was in an ambulance, that his heart had stopped from what was believed a drug overdose, and that my parents were needed at the hospital. I stayed behind and sat next to the phone where we were I was going to receive a phone call from my parents with an answer of one or two ways. That phone call came in, and as you can probably guess why I'm standing here, my brother died that night. And at 17 years old, I can look back and say it is still the hardest moment that I have ever gone through. When I came to speak at this school a year later at 18 years old, things have transitioned in 15 years, but the emotion and the feeling of loss has stayed the same. I can honestly say that. During that time, my life stopped. You could have easily just used the statement that when Chris died, I died too. I didn't surf. I didn't go to school for 2 weeks. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't leave the house. And now as I've grown up and began to understand my own self and my own emotional journey, I fell into a very dark depression. If somebody's been there, it feels like the weight of the world is on you and you have nothing to push it away. And I lived in this deep, dark, weighted place that really cycled in with anxiety too. Fear of not knowing how to move forward. I think fear drove the whole thing, actually. My parents, being the parents that they were, understood that we needed to break this cycle that we were living in that was just being lost in life, with no direction, with no motivation. I lost all self-purpose, self-identity. I didn't even know who I was. And yet, up until that night, I knew everything that I wanted to do. I knew exactly who I was. And then it was gone. So they took me to a contest, one of the tours that I had been doing. I was rated number one. I was rated number one in America at the time. And was trying to go for a national title. Getting back to the beach, when I got to the beach that day, and I learned the power of choice. And I was either going to have this moment, this loss of my brother, determine me going down an even darker path and probably determining a lifestyle that I was never meant to live, or looking at it, finding acceptance, and using the word of honoring my brother and taking everything that he had given me and realizing it was a gift. Even having him for 20 years was a gift. But he gave me surfing. And I was like, well, if this is it, and I'm not going to be able to have him here anymore, I'm going to take this gift, everything that he was to me, is to me, always will be to me, and take it further than him and I could ever imagine. I knew because he died of drugs that my coping skills were not going to be masked by the use of drugs, because the consequence to me was as simple as that means death. And that was a very hard lesson to live. It's still hard now, and it's why I came to this school a year after, because it was such a shock. This community, I mean, it's very rare, especially then, to have somebody die of a drug overdose. But it was a stigma. I lived by this thing that, oh, bad things happen to bad people. This is my brother Chris. Ooh, and now we got louder, but Chris is a good person. He was the best person that I'd ever met. And when you look at him, when I look at him, it's hard to go, man, that guy died of a drug overdose. But he did. We believe it was an accident. You know, I learned that part of addiction, there's a genetic side. And we have a very prominent genetic addiction disorder in my family. Chris fell victim to that. So I had to look within myself and understand that I am also prone to addiction. And I realized I was the most addicted person in the world to surfing. Thank God. And I still am. And so I took that aspect of addiction and I put it into something healthy. And I put it into my career, and I did everything that I could, every choice and sacrifice that I could make to go as far as I could within this career. And that's what saved me. Chris died of an opioid overdose. I really love going into that. I'm going to skip that today, but anybody that is dealing with that, my heart goes out to you. We're here on a vaping prevention tour. 15 years ago or 14 years ago when I came to talk here, this did not even exist, right? This is a whole new thing. And when Laura asked me to do this tour, it caught my attention because people are dying from it. And when people start dying, ring the alarm, sign me up, because we got to talk about this. Vaping has been falsely marketed as a harmless device. To give you a perspective of how harmful it is, harmless device. When I started October 8th, it was 18 deaths in America. 3 weeks later now, it's 39 deaths. So that number's doubling within a month. There was 1,000 hospitalized lung injuries. Now that's at 2,000. So I sit here and go, oh my God, we're going to have another epidemic on our hands. And it's all at the hands of a big marketing campaign that is lying to you. They've gone as far as to flavor these things like cotton candy. And when I think about that, I think about tobacco. I think about my 3 grandparents that died from tobacco use. So they've taken something that was killing people during generations past, remarketed it, reflavored it, but the same ingredients in there, nicotine, is still a part of this vape device. You guys need to understand that nicotine is the most addictive drug in the world. That is a fact. That's what's in these vape devices, right? We gotta wake up to what this really is, and at your age, none of you guys need to fall into a trap like this, because I stand in front of you today knowing what my brother went through, that accidents and mistakes happened, but we can educate each other on it. So there's nicotine, and then we also have the THC side of these as well. And I'd also like to say, in those cartridges of nicotine, 1 cartridge is the same as smoking if not 2 packs of cigarettes. All this information is coming out from our CDC. It's also known as the biggest gateway drug in the world. You can say that most people that went on to a drug overdose started out with smoking pot. I know Chris did. And we're all curious and make mistakes and have fun as young teenagers. So you just start going down these rabbit holes of vaping, harmless, a better substitute than tobacco. And I just want to stand in front of all of you and at least allow you to understand what's really going on. At South Bay Families Connected, they have the real facts for you, and I hope you visit their website. That's where I'm learning all of this. My story just integrates, unfortunately, with having to learn all of this in an aspect I wish I never had to learn. Nobody wants to have to learn this secondhand, you know, but my brother's death still affects me today. I think about him every day. And there's a ripple effect of when somebody dies that you could never imagine, but I know what it feels like. And I don't want any of you guys to be falsely duped into such a foolish thing as vaping. So what were things that worked for me? What I wish I did when I was your age is simply have a conversation. I just recently realized the power of allowing yourself to vulnerably talk to your friends. And I realized what real friends were. I didn't have them. I was up here following what everybody was doing, wanting everybody in the world to like me, and just playing this game of society. And when you lose somebody and when you go into these places of darkness, you can't do it on your own. I did it on my own for too long. Anger crept over me like crazy. I got mad at the world. And a lot of times it came out at the wrong times because I wasn't dealing with it, and I put it on to people, and I lost friendships. I lost my brother, but then I started losing friends because I wasn't dealing with what this was doing to me. I was trying to be a professional surfer. Professional surfer, happiest Alex Gray in the world. But underneath it all was just tragedy. And now when I sit here and vulnerably expose myself in front of you guys, I don't know any of you, but this feels good. I'm happy to sit here and tell you right now that I've got it. Depression, anxiety, stress, pressure, just go down the line. I've got it. It's at different days, but I'm riddled with everything. And when I get to speak to people and they listen, unconditionally listen to me without judgment, knowing that I can confide in somebody with trust, safely, and that person isn't going to go and take what I said to them and start beginning rumors, or, ooh, did you hear what happened? God, having a real friend is like the greatest thing in the world. And I hope that you guys out here dealing with social media and the fakeness of what is being curated on the internet right now still have some grounding in your life of what it's like to have somebody that will be there and do anything for you at any time. And not during the times where it's the best, right? We're always attracted to people when they're successful, when they're doing their best, when everything's great. Can you be there for them when they're not doing their best? When it's looking pretty bad, and you know that person simply needs help. Help can come by just being there for someone. Even if you don't even know what to say to them, being there for somebody and listening to somebody is so powerful. Friendships are huge. And I hope you guys can work on that if it doesn't exist already, because that's what I'm doing now. You don't need everybody in the world to like you or play this game of whatever this is. You can simplify everything and do it. Do it with each other. It's great. If talking isn't your thing, and I know you have days, I have days where I don't want to talk to people, journaling is fantastic. I don't know if anybody here already is into just journaling, but the whole idea of what I'm getting at is how do we get out of here, find some clarity to find us as a person again. I go down a serious rabbit hole of overthinking. It's a blessing and a curse. If I have a goal, get out of my way, I'm unstoppable. But if all of these thoughts are scattered and I can't find a way to shelve them and use them for me, I'm done. It's just an endless thought process that has honestly paralyzed me to not even leaving my house because I just sit in this hamster wheel that doesn't end. On those days, I journal and I start writing things down, and I don't do it, I aimlessly write down my thoughts, but then I return to them and go, why was I thinking that? And why was that negative thought there? And I can start going through my pattern. I'm like, man, I'm just putting myself down. I don't know about you guys, but I personally put myself down before I ever lift myself up. That's the way my mind works. It always is negative before positive. I'm trying to push all of those away. Because every one of you guys here, within yourself, has the tools to be and do anything you could ever imagine. And while surrounding yourself with the right people, right? We need mentors, we need outside influences, we need the right people to make us a better person. But at the end of the day, when we talk about choice, that is us as an individual. And when you begin to learn your own thought patterns, and you can start weeding out the things that are putting you down, blocking you from becoming the best you, or the potential that you could have never imagined until you start unlocking that, I just think that we get stuck. And we can unstuck ourselves whenever we want, with substance abuse, with relationships, with just a bad day. It's all with the power of perspective and choice. For me, surfing is my career. It is what has funded my life for 22 years, traveling to 35 countries every year, getting to surf waves like you guys got to watch. Like, that is where I find my happiness. Do you have an outlet? What is your happiness? Have you allowed yourself to give yourself the feeling of happiness? I've gone through life at times where there's days I don't even feel like I deserve to be happy. It's the best day in the world, and I'm looking around like, this is so weird. Feelings of guilt come over me of, like, am I even allowed to feel like this? Heck yeah, you are. You should feel that all the time whenever you want. Find a healthy outlet. Follow your passion. Rather than coping, right, with all of these unexpected moments in life, tragedies, a rough day, how do you just walk away from it? And what's your tool? Mine's a surfboard. I can honestly say it's probably saved my life many times since the last time I've been here. And it's where I go where no one can judge me. I can do it how I want to do it. But more than anything, it's just mindlessness. It's getting out of my head and finding clarity. We have so many more opportunities out there to reach our potential, to better ourselves, than to use coping skills that are just going to make things worse. And when I think about vaping, it is one of the coping skills that is simply going to make everything worse. If you feel like you're on the brink of not having that ability to choose anymore, that something has overcome you and is ruling your life, there's professional help. You have good people here on this campus. If it's not on this campus, is it an outside professional that can help you? Is it your parents? I got lucky. I can talk to my parents. I got really lucky there. I know that that's not every situation. Professional help's fantastic. Can we as people get to know ourselves enough that it becomes less about me and I, and what about you? How are you today? What about the kid sitting at lunch that doesn't have any friends to hang out with? Why not go sit with them? What about the kid being bullied by some guy that's so insecure that he doesn't like himself enough that he has to go and hurt someone else along the way to make himself feel better? Can you stand up for that kid? Even more so, let's do we. Because collectively, you guys can change the world. And I personally believe together you guys can change all of this. I'm happy to individually sit up here, have a conversation with you that is very uncomfortable. But I love being uncomfortable. I've learned that human growth comes from adversity. It comes from those moments where you have to sit uncomfortably in the dark and learn to love yourself. That's crazy. Like, to really love yourself and know that you as an individual are good, if not better, to do anything that you want, and you're perfect the way you are. There's no need to emulate somebody else, to copy what somebody else is doing. Don't be afraid to go out and fail as yourself as an individual. That's where success comes from. Going out, letting your ego go, and going after things that make sense to you, rather than being around a group of people and feeling awkward. I've been around people before and I felt awkward and I still did it. I still hung out with them because I thought that's what you do. Get away from that. Go take the path less chosen. Start rattling the cages of this world of everybody following each other. Be that singular voice that now brings people together for a bigger, better collective purpose. You guys can do this, and I want to remind you that you're more powerful and capable than anything you could ever imagine. As a young child, I wanted to be a professional surfer. I wanted that more than anything, and there were people out there more talented than me that should have gone further, but I'll tell you also, hard work will prevail every time. Just because you think somebody's better than you does not mean that you can accomplish something more than them. If you want it more than them, but these are all choices and ideas that I wish somebody explained to me when I was your age. And all of this is relatable to my journey, and I'm just a vehicle trying to explain things that I hope are relatable and helpful for you. So I hope I got across to some people in here. When I first started speaking and I lost Chris, my whole goal was to save one person's life. You know, at the end of this, I'll have spoken to 28,000 students. Again, I have to thank South Bay Families Connected. There are facts in here, real facts, on their website, southbayfamiliesconnected.org. There's a video of me getting into depth about vaping more, not just my story, but just sitting about that. And they have tons of resources. You guys, there's help out there waiting for you. Asking for help, and I did this all wrong, is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is one of the most important and powerful things that you can ever do. Do not be afraid to ask for help, because we all need help at some point of our life. And you might as well start doing it now, because it's only going to make it easier for the future. So thank you guys very much for having me. Appreciate it.